Okay. Look at that smile.
Hi!
Welcome to the vlog for the beginning of March. And I'm super excited because I have Cindy Ashton here today. And I have to tell you, I met Cindy because, someone made an introduction. And Cindy described her business model to me. And I was blown away because I was at an event a few years earlier where someone presented a very similar model. It was like a Shark Tank type environment. And every expert on the stage told the other woman that she could not monetize this. And when I meet Cindy, I listen to it, what she has to do, what she's doing. And I was like, oh my gosh, you monetized what a lot of big people like Laurel Langmeyer, Justin Livingston, Callan Rush, people like that were all up there saying, no, I don't want to invest in that because you can't monetize that. So I have to tell you, that is why I'm so excited about Cindy because she made it happen. So Cindy, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell us what you do, who you are, and why we should listen to you.
That's a great question. So it's because I'm cute. I'm just
okay.
kidding. So I am the CEO of Speaker Stardom Booking Agency. We are an elite level booking agency that creates customized campaigns to get our speakers $5,000 or more per booking. And so that's part of that's what we do as the agency. But in my other life, I'm a performer, started in opera, ended up in musical theater, now have a television show on a professional network, which means I get paid to do this on 186 million screens across the world. And I've been training presenters and I've been training speakers for years and years and years. And when my clients come to me, they all had for years the same complaint. Cindy, I don't know how to get bookings. And I'm like, you just have to have targeted lead generation and targeted pitches and let me write you a plan. And then they would be like, whoa, how am I making all this money suddenly? They're like, wow, how did you know everything about pitching? Why don't you have your own agency? I don't want to get on the phone. So I came up with this business model where if somebody qualifies to be one of our speakers, we actually create a dedicated campaign and have 4 people working on their campaign to make sure that they get high paid bookings.
That's awesome. And I could see why people would be really bowled away because that's a lot of work you do.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they were just like, oh my God. I think one of the first things they probably thought is, wow, I never knew it took all that.
Well, that's the thing is that what I find is with a lot of speakers are like, I just want to get paid to speak. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? And they're like, I don't know where the leads are. And I would say, okay, well, who's your market? Everybody. I have such an inspiring story. And I'm like, well, no wonder you can't find paid bookings because you're trying to market to everybody. And, and that's one of the biggest problems is that they're trying to market to everybody. And when they do know who they're marketing to, they're like, where do I find those leads? Or they would ask me questions like, or they'd find leads, or they'd be not, or they would be pitching in a way that it's very generic like everybody else and they don't stand out. So they don't get that pitch. They don't get that gig. So those are really the biggest challenges that I see that speakers have.
Mm-hmm. No, I can definitely see that. I interviewed Dory Clark a couple years ago. And one of the things she was talking about was how you build your platform as a speaker and how many times she got rejected because she didn't have the right speaker sheet. She wasn't talking to the right people, like all of the things that you teach, just not getting in front of that right audience or making yourself stand out. Because one thing you have to remember, I would imagine you'll agree with this, is that let's say you're pitching to a chamber of commerce or a corporate. They're getting hundreds of other people who are trying to get in the door and speak, and you have to be able to tell them what it is you're bringing to their audience that's different from everyone else.
Right. And so I'll give you the example, right? So let's say that we were pitching myself and it was for a financial services event. Everybody else who does presentation skills is going to say, hey, let me help your women to feel confident and get over the nerves of having to do a sales conversation and presentations, right? It's pretty standard stuff that any presentation skills trainer could say. But my pitch is, well, 14% of your industry are women, and it's because they hate the male style of selling. So if you bring me in, I will teach you storytelling skills to engage, to emotionally engage your prospects so they feel bonded to you and connected and want to buy from you without having to sell.
See, that's awesome.
That's a totally different pitch, right? First of all, I showed that it wasn't just let's all be confident because that's generic, but I showed that I understood what was a problem in financial services.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if I was pitching, for example, lawyers, it would be a totally different pitch. It's the same content, totally different pitch. With lawyers, I would go to the partner or the business development manager, depending on the size of the firm, and I would say, you have great lawyers on staff that have never taught how to sell when they were in law school, but for them to be able to rise up to partner, they need to be able to prospect, bring in clients, and in order to help you to raise your bottom line. They have to be salespeople, right? So then I go into, around after 20 years of working with Broadway performers and Emmy winners, I'm going to teach your attorneys to unlock that magnetism within them so they can have easier conversations with prospects and be able to close them. So I'm bringing in my credibility, I'm bringing in what I can do for them, and I'm bringing in the problem that's specific to lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
Lawyers don't tend to be very personable and don't tend to have magnetism.
Now, let's not generalize.
I'm just saying some of them.
Of people, not very emotional people. They're just like, no.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've got friends I've had lots of clients actually who are lawyers who are fantastic people, but they have we bless them because they're willing to read, hundreds of pages of depositions, which I would never want. Like they have that brain. I highly respect them. But that's the thing, is that the level of pitching that people are doing is just not specific enough and doesn't differentiate them and doesn't get them the sale. So even when they do get in front of the right people, they're amongst the hundreds of people that you have outlined.
They are. And so you have to be able to stand out in that way. So tell us a little bit about, because there are tons of speaking coaches out there. Tell us how your agency is different from all of those. What differentiates and sets you guys apart that would make people say, Cindy's the one I'm looking for?
Yeah. So let me kind of give you let's just look at the bird's eye view, right? Is it the bird's eye view when you look back? No, the 10,000 foot view.
Okay.
Either way, let me just give you a view of what is really out there. That's just easier. No more funny languaging that may not work. So essentially, a lot of speakers will be like, well, how do I get in contact with speaking bureaus? So speaking bureaus is one of the options for people to get booked, but it's not a good option. First of all, for a speaking bureau to take you on, you already have to have your platform built, and you do with us as well, but I'll explain that a little bit more. But you already have to have a proven track record of making $5,000 or more for the most part before a bureau will take you on. But here's the thing with the bureau, you're just being listed on their website. You're just being listed on their website. They're actually not picking up the phone and pitching you specifically. So they're going to go to IBM and say, hey, I've got this really, really great bureau. Would you like to use our speakers? And then if IBM says, great, I need 3, they're going to go, oh, well, let's use our celebrity guy who charges $20,000 and not use the person who's not a celebrity at $5,000, because they make their 30% off of that. So speaking bureaus in general don't tend to get people a ton of work. They just don't. You might get 2 or 3 gigs a year, but that's not really a sustainable business. Mm-hmm. On the opposite end, for years there have been people who call themselves speaking managers. Now, in general, you pay them $60 an hour to generate leads for you and pitch, which is fine if you're getting even 1 booking a month, right? Or even 1 booking every 2-3 months. Although you're really not making a huge profit on that at that point. But the problem that I've seen is that every time I've talked to people who have had, a manager, I've said, well, what kind of gigs are you getting? Oh, mostly free stuff, maybe something 500, maybe 1,500 occasionally. Okay, well, how are they pitching you? Oh, well, they're just telling meeting planners about my story of overcoming abuse or cancer or whatever. Oh, well, okay. And what are they saying about your skill set? Oh, that I'm really good at helping people be healthy.
Again, generic.
Very generic. So I'm like, well, this is why you're not getting gigs that are more than 1,500, if that. So it's fine if you're spending $60 an hour, but if you're not getting results that are substantial, then what's the point? And and I would see some of these managers be charging people $20 a lead. $20 a lead. They don't even pitch them. I mean, just $20 a lead to give you a lead to a company that might hire you.
Mhm.
Can I tell you right now, we don't have the time to do it right now, but if we were to do a screen share, I could show you in less than 3 minutes how to have 100,000 leads on LinkedIn specific to your industry and the type of person, whether it's an HR manager or whatever that you're looking for. Why would you pay $20 a lead when in less than 3 minutes, I can just generate 100,000 leads for you in America, if not more, with the HR director of whatever?
That's cool.
I mean, it's a ripoff, and I don't know if these people are just not skilled. I think they're trying their best. I just don't think they're skilled. So I'm going to give people the benefit of the doubt. So the other way, of course, is that you actually dial for dollars. You get on the phone and you're the one doing the pitching. Very few people want to do that. They just don't want to do it, and they're not good at pitching, and that's okay because they get to be their brilliant self on stage. So when we work with our clients, first of all, we have a very strict vetting process because it's important that we, believe that we can absolutely sell our speakers. The second piece around this is that we have we're looking for very specific things in our speaker. We have a certain style that we're looking for that we love to be able to promote, not specifically topics, but in terms of where they are with their expertise and their presentation style, we're looking for specific things. So let's say somebody, we take them on as a client. Essentially, what they're doing is they're paying us a flat fee plus commission to do a dedicated campaign for them. So, for example, the first thing we do, so they have 4 people working for them. The first person is a positioning strategist. So we have yet to find a speaker, even those that are super high level, that have strong platforms, that have the level of pitching that we need. So our positioning strategist will work with them. They'll come up with specific pitches to different niches or different verticals so that we could really go out and target. And so although a lot of our speakers could probably speak in about 10 or 12 different industries, we pick 2 that we really feel they're really going to sell in so that we can be targeted. So then it goes to a targeted lead generation specialist where they'll go, okay, so Juliet, we're going to target you with the cosmetics field because you have a background in this, and we're going to do financial services because you've had a lot of client list of financial services, right? And now we know what the specific problems are in those 2. And then we do a lead pull, where we pull targeted leads because now that we know what you're selling, we know if we're looking for the VP of sales, if we're looking for the HR director versus diversity and inclusion. This is part of the problem, is that people don't know who to pitch when they go to corporate because often there's 5 to 10 different departments who hire speakers, but we know that. So we do all that, and then we test for the first month or 2. We're testing leads. We're making sure that they're converting. We're making sure we're getting the right people. So we dial it in, just like you, Juliet, do with your business. You are constantly split testing your leads until you know it's going to be dialed in and converting. Right. Nobody does this in the speaking world. So that's the second person that works with you. Then we train a dedicated salesperson who, unlike a bureau that just lets you sit on their list, they get on the phone for 17 hours a month, and they're pitching and pitching and pitching and following up and sending out contracts and doing all these things for you. But we don't leave it there. We actually have a head of sales that is monitoring the entire thing. So if they're on the phone pitching you that day, our head of the sales is there any moment for them to be texting saying, I'm on a call, this is the objection, and our head of sales is writing back. And then, so on a daily basis, we have accountability to make sure, and we're constantly changing things up until we get it dialed in and people are responding. And then we have weekly sales meetings. I mean, we have an insane amount of accountability to make sure that our speakers get booked. And it's crazy.
That is so awesome. So I just want to differentiate something here for some people. Cindy serves C-suites, correct? So you're more the C-suite. If you're someone who's looking for those type of opportunities, if you're someone who's looking for to sell from the
sell, that's not us.
That's not Cindy's group. She's working with the C-suite people, and technically, or most of the time, you don't do a sales pitch at the end. You're there to give a topic related speech that's educational, informative, inspirational. No sales pitch.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely no sales pitch, because this is paid speaking, and corporate paid speaking there isn't. Now we do upsell our so we have a whole process just like you do with your online marketing, where once we get a speaker booked, we do surveys and assessments and follow-ups in hopes that we can put them into consulting contracts and other training days with those companies as well. So we actually also do the follow-up, and we also do the upselling for the client. But yeah, so we do C-suite, but we also do industries. So there are industries where essentially the people are entrepreneurs within that industry, franchisees, network marketing, real estate, financial services. There are all kinds of these types of people who are independently contractors underneath those corporate umbrellas. We also serve those people. So what we're finding, Juliet, is that we have a lot of people who are tired of doing the speak to sell thing and working with the entrepreneurs and saying, can you reposition what I do for people who are like entrepreneurs under a corporate umbrella?
See, that's really awesome too, because I do a lot of selling from the stage, and I have to be really careful about my events, because I literally have in the past gone and given a talk, and like the people in the room are not pre-qualified, like they would never afford me, and I'm just like, whoa. So it's really, you have to be able, when you're going from the stage, to be able to really pre-qualify that crowd.
Right. And that's one of the challenges, is that a lot of people I'm finding selling from the stage, first of all, there's event fatigue. People are tired of the sales pitches.
Yes,
I mean, it's so overdone these days that people are like, great, another sales pitch. And they're really having a hard time with it. But even the ones who are dialed in, know how to get in front of the right audiences and are making money at it, I'm like, but you make like $10,000 to $50,000 every time you sell at the stage. Why do you want to be represented? And they all give us the same answer. Because it's easy. I don't have to do a million follow-ups. I don't have to do all these coaching sessions. I don't have to run some kind of a group program. I just show up for $5,000 and I leave, and I do a follow-up call, obviously, with a meeting planner to make sure they're happy, and that's it.
Uh-huh.
So maybe I've made $50,000 at this other thing, but I've been running a 6-month program and serving all these clients and having to hire assistants and having to hire all these people. It's really not this is a speak to sell between the event fatigue and people getting fed up with it, and most people not being able to do it effectively and being in front of the wrong audiences. As you said, a lot of the people who are actually making money are just tired. They want easier money.
No,
They're huffing it, having to go from event to event to fill their programs. It's exhausting.
It is. And you know what? I don't run a group program per se anymore.
Yeah.
My programs are a combination of group/one-on-one. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that model, because people are tired of being part of an uneducated group where we critique each other's work all the time and we don't really get the value.
What?
Being part of programs like that. So I think you're going to see that, as well as a shift in the market with the webinars. People are tired of being sold on webinars too. A friend of mine and I just did a webinar back in November, a masterclass, and all of our marketing materials said, we're not going to sell you a darn thing. And we didn't run any Facebook ads. We just used our audiences, and we had over 100 people show up because they knew we weren't going to sell them anything and they were going to get some value from it. And I think you're going to see a little bit more of that as well, because people are just exhausted with the webinar thing.
Yeah, they really are. They're kind of done with it.
So tell us how we can find you, number one. And number two, you have an event coming up, and I want you to tell us how we can go find that as well.
Yeah, these are wonderful questions. They're so fun. So the first thing that I want you to do is, we do have a webinar coming up on March 7th, and that is on how to land high paid bookings. So we really go in depth of how we actually do this. So even if you don't want to be represented with us, or we're not a good fit, you're going to learn how to go out and get paid bookings. And even if you do the speak to sell thing, you need to know how to pitch yourself. So even if you want to be the free speaking, this is going to be a great webinar. You can go to superbrandpublishing.com/bookings webinar. Or if you want to just learn more about our booking agency and possibly apply, you can go to superbrandpublishing.com/get booked.
Cool. Very cool. All right. And where do we find you on Facebook? Don't you have a lovely community over there? And you know I'm not really big on communities.
You're not big on communities at all. I have to look up the URL because I can't remember it at this point. Hold on. It is facebook.com/groups/speaker stardom. So facebook.com/groups/speaker stardom.
Yay. And she sings in it. Hey, just really quickly here, do like an opera thing for us. I've been curious.
Oh, you've never heard me do opera before.
I've never heard you sing.
You've never heard me sing. Okay, what am I going to do? L'amour was horrible que ne peut apprivoiser.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing. Yay! Cindy, thank you so much. That was awesome.
Thank you for having me, Juliet, and thanks for everybody for watching.
You're welcome. Hold on.